snowing at Arkansas State University today.
It's way too cold to be doing a show.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why we're doing this, but
because we got
we're doing
nothing
it.
better to do, Brad.
I forgot how to operate these umbrellas.
Just throw it.
Just throw it. Okay, that's a good idea.
We've got a show to do, Brad.
Then we got Red Wolf Roundtable, the special episode for today, and I am very excited about this. We had some problems early on because you can see that we have, it's snowing outside. It's inclement weather conditions. Your schools are probably going to get canceled.
Yeah. You're welcome.
But, we still have a show to do. We had people here. It's like if we're here, we might as well just go ahead and do it. And we have sports going on. It's high time for the fall sports right now. We're getting into the getting into the postseason. And we're going to start off today's show with some ladies. Ladies first.
Lady, always.
Chivalry. We're men of chivalry. We're gentlemen here. And so we're going to first talk about some volleyball because those girls are already over in Statesville, Georgia for the Sun Belt Conference Championship Tournament.
And probably enjoying better weather than we are enjoying currently.
Certainly. I did see Timber Terrell. She posted on Twitter that, she said it's snowing without me. And so she's actually missing the weather. So she wishes she was here in the snow, which, I saw they had some nice Sun Belt customized, like, portable charger things,
At the game?
Yeah, because since they're athletes, they get all this
nice.
Sun Belt merchandise, which I'm very jealous of.
We just get these cool scarves.
Yeah, we've gotten some pretty cool stuff for being a part of ASU-TV. Yeah. But let's get on topic. Let's talk about some volleyball right now. So tomorrow they're going to be having first serve against South Alabama. And this Arkansas State team, September 23rd in the regular season, they reverse swept South Alabama. They started out the game. It did not look good. They went down 0-2 at First National Bank Arena. But they came back and they won 3 sets pretty convincingly. They won the 5th set 15-9. And so that's really where the momentum of the season really kicked off. It's a young team. We have 3 seniors. After the season, Carly Sime, Ellie Watkins, and Kenzie Fields, all of which who we'll be talking about, are going to be leaving. So we're a very youthful team. But they still showed some mental strength, but there are problems with inconsistency.
Oh, yeah, and I know a lot of people have been really praising the volleyball team this year. A lot of people have been saying how good this team is. I myself, I haven't been able, I'll admit it, to keep up with the volleyball team all that much, but I get your reports every night you come home from a volleyball game and talk about the nail-biter sets it's gone down to or when they dropped a set they shouldn't have or whatnot. And you're right, that all comes with being a young team. And so there's a lot of hope, I imagine, with this team, with the future, as they train up these girls, and these girls get used to playing in the college setting. And this team, I think, will be a force as soon as next year, and if not next year, the year after that, and the year after that, they might be unstoppable.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, next year and the year after that, they may be unstoppable, even with Carly Sime leaving. They had Carly Sime, she just recently broke the all-time A-State scoring record in terms of kills. She surpassed Marky Kolat from 1991 to 1994, and she had 1,789 kills. So Carly Sime has surpassed that. And still
going.
Yeah, she's still going. She has 1 Sun Belt tournament left in her. And I think we talked to Kenzie Fields right after a very weird loss against Texas Arlington at home.
I remember you telling me about this.
Yeah, because that Friday they beat Texas State, which is probably the best team in the Sun Belt. They were 14-0 in the conference play going in that weekend, and it was a nail-biter. That game was crazy. First National Bank Arena was going crazy, and A-State upset. And then the first and only conference loss of the season. But then they go to, Texas Arlington comes to the First National Bank Arena on that next Sunday.
Yeah.
Right after homecoming and senior day, and A-State gets swept off the board. It was weird. It looked like they didn't want to be here, and that's my problem with this team. They have the talent, and they have the leadership. But I think it may just be the mental toughness of how much you want to win, because on some games you see that they don't really want to win.
Well, and something to be said to that before. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes it's just your team has days where they just don't really show up to play. It happens on every level with every sport. But a lot of times there's this kind of effect that athletes will get or teams will get, and that's when you win a game convincingly or you beat that opponent that you weren't really sure you could beat, as such they did with Texas State, where they won, and a lot of people were saying they probably didn't have any business winning or it would be closer than it was. When you come down from that, you're thinking, oh, man, we're really this good. And so teams can catch you by surprise in that moment. It happens all the time in college football. So it does speak a little bit to your mental toughness in an aspect of maybe not so much not wanting to play, but they know that every game you got to go in fresh, knowing that you could lose and you have to play to win against every team.
Yeah, and the Arkansas State volleyball team, they closed out their regular season on the road against the two Louisiana teams, Louisiana, Monroe. They started that, and they beat them, and they beat them pretty convincingly. And so that was a win that really basically secured the spot in the Sun Belt tournament, because there's really weird, like Louisiana, Lafayette, they still had a shot. Euler, or Little Rock, Texas Arlington, and Arkansas State really kind of fighting for those kind of lower mid seeds, especially on our side of division. And Louisiana had a long shot. And after we won our first game against ULM, we were in. And so then that game against Louisiana was kind of more about seeding.
Yeah.
But we got demolished. 2 sets. I mean, like, the sets for those were like 12 on one and 14 on the other was what we scored in the second and third set.
Man.
Like, and you rarely see that in volleyball. And so that's what scares me. I mean, this is a Louisiana team that did not make the Sun Belt tournament. I mean, sure, they kind of did turn up, and this is a Louisiana team with a lot of potential. I saw a documentary with their head coach during our game against Louisiana in football. And so they have a lot of potential. They have a lot of hype around their program, but they didn't make it this year. But and maybe I'm just being too pessimistic about that.
Yeah, well, and it's easy to be pessimistic on some things, especially when your team takes hard losses.
Yeah.
But I think it all comes back to the age of the team. It all comes back to these girls getting used to playing college sports consistently, getting used to that atmosphere all the time, in and out, always playing games with 100% of their heart. Whereas I know a lot of times when you play high school sports, you really only have your mind on a few games, because you can trash talk the other teams because you're all in the area, so you can trash talk all those guys and say, we really are better, look at these teams we have. But in college, you can't do that. And so these girls will learn as they play more and more college sports that you have to back up everything on the court. That's all that matters, and that's all anyone cares about is what you do on the court. And so as they age and mature, it will definitely become a more complete, I would say, season for them, where they win the games that they should win all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, even with these problems, this is a team that can, even though they're going into the tournament as a 6th seed, this is a team that can win the championship. We've seen them beat the best team in the Sun Belt. And, you know, they've had problems on the road. They've kind of recovered in that regard in terms of, like, you know, winning, almost being undefeated at home, and then losing almost every single game on the road. And so they've kind of mellowed out there. They kind of stabilized that. It'll be a long shot, but I think this is a true dark horse to have win the tournament.
Yeah.
But moving on to the next women's sport here, the team that's, you know, because volleyball's, you know, we're closing down.
Closing down.
Yeah, we're ending that.
So what
season.
else are we going to go to First National Bank Arena to see?
Well, women's basketball. We're gonna start with women's basketball. We're gonna talk about men's basketball right afterwards. But yeah, women's basketball. They played Memphis this past Monday night, and that was a game where I was like, you know, I knew it was gonna be close. And of course, like at this point of the season, I don't really know where teams are, and so I was like, you know, Memphis, you know, they're in the American Conference, which are known for being superior than the Sun Belt in most sports. And really, it was because that game came down to a late rally because Memphis it wasn't a complete stranglehold over the game, but they had the lead for most of that game. They were in control for the most part. But then when it hit that final quarter, Arkansas State, I think at one point they had a 9-0 run, which took the lead, and they ended up winning that game 76-66. Sophomore Peyton Martin, she led the team with her career high 20 points in the game. Kayla Williams and Jairi Washington both had 15 points. Akasha Westbrook, she scored 11 points, which is her 28th double-digit scoring game in her career. And Star Taylor, a name we've heard a lot, especially coming out of Wesley Walton's mouth. He seems to be a big fan.
Kidding.
Yeah, 7 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds. So she didn't have as many points, but she, you know, was kind of an all-around player in that regard, which, you know, you have to have those on your team. And also another interesting fact, I kind of am more interested with their loss, which they lost their regular season opener on the road in Stillwater, Oklahoma, against Oklahoma State. And we were talking about that. We saw that. You brought it up.
Because I was keeping track of the game on the ESPN app, and I was watching it, and it was coming across, and I got the final score alert, and it said that the final score was 62-60. And I thought, hold on a second, wait, what? And so I ran out of my room, yelled your name from across our quad, and said, Brad, have you seen the final score of the Arkansas State game? He goes, yeah, I can't believe it. And it just, I think it speaks to the season. Like, you mentioned momentum in just the game aspect against Memphis. And so they finally got that momentum push in the last quarter of that game. And basketball as a whole, across the whole season, all about momentum. And so I think through these first 2 games, we can't really tell where they're at for the whole season, but this is good momentum to build upon going forward.
Yeah, and I described it on our Twitter account as almost like a spiritual win. Like, we didn't get the W on the board, but, I mean, that's a game where that's got to be giving you a lot of confidence, taking it to a Big 12 opponent like that. And so that's really impressive in their regard. Of course, especially we see this a lot in football where, you'll see top 25 teams play teams, they pay millions of dollars to play.
Yeah.
And, they get absolutely trashed or, they get upset, and that can almost derail your season before it really gets started.
Yeah.
And so it's good to see that, honestly, the A-State women's basketball team, they're playing teams that it's understandable if they lose to, and they're playing them tight and winning. And so that's really good, looking forward to them. And now flipping over to the men's side, they face Missouri Baptist, which isn't as much of a formidable team as Memphis. We may not have heard as much about them. And, I mean, that was just that was a slaughter. Our media guy, Dustin Sullivan, was like, run the clock, please, because, that was.
Oh, man.
You have it pulled up right there. 89-54 was the final score there. And then player of the game was Grantham Gillard. He led the team with 22 points and was 5 for 7 from 3-point range, which is pretty accurate. That's that's some pretty good stats right there. Ty Cockfield, second, he scored 17 points. Marcus Eaton scored 13 points and got himself 5 assists. Tristan Wally scored 10 points. Malik Brevard, he led the team with 9 rebounds. And the Red Wolves, they were 53.2% from the field, and they held Baptist to 30%. So really, you saw a class act from both on the offense and defense. A-State was just rolling more than Missouri could ever get going, Missouri Baptist.
Well, yeah, and I think it was a good win for our program, especially after they dropped their season opener to Abilene Christian. And what could have been a close game, I think you just lost it at certain points and couldn't get back into it at points. I think that was a game they definitely could have won. It would have been a great game for them to win if they would have been able to pull off that game and win it on the road. But to come back home and face an opponent, and it's not the greatest opponent in Missouri Baptist, but to face an opponent that you know that you can take time to work out any kinks that you may have established with your team, get your team really working together. And sometimes with these teams, with these games that they have where they schedule these weaker teams, it's a good chance for all the players to really meld and figure out how their styles go into basketball, because basketball now has kind of evolved into this where you don't really build a team like with football where you build a team that you kind of make work together and you get in a scheme. Basketball has kind of evolved into the sport where you find a bunch of guys that are good, but that their styles complement each other. So like you have guys that are really good at getting rebounds and dishing them out to your point guards, and you have a point guard that's really good at handling, but he's, he can shoot if he needs to, but he has great court vision, and so you find shooters to put around him. And so I think this team, with this game against Missouri Baptist, has really taken these guys and let them play enough where they can figure out who serves those roles on these teams and how they can move forward to beat the tougher opponents, especially when they get in conference play.
Yeah, and I think you've nailed it right there. You need to find your role players because, I mean, even because last year was Coach Bellato, his first season. The team really didn't get rolling at all. It was a pretty overall disappointing season. But yeah, we see names that we've seen here before, especially like Ty Cockfield. He's a hyped up guy. And then you see guys like Grantham Gillard, who we haven't heard as much about, and him leading scoring. It really seems that Coach Bellato has done a really good job. The win was on his birthday, nonetheless. A little fun fact.
Well, happy birthday!
Yeah, nice little birthday present for him. But yeah, it looks like he's really done a good job of just forming the team in the roles. Because that's crucial. You can't have a team where people are playing different roles and you're swapping roles because you can never get that cemented. And sure, you can make the argument. It's like, well, then if you're doing the same thing over and over and everyone's playing their roles, then you can know how to counter it. But
that's just where it comes down. You got to be better than the other guy. Because,
exactly.
I mean, you rarely see teams now that really cement zone defense and make that their go-to defensive strategy. Basketball has just become basically 5 individual games played at the same time. And so it really comes, you want a good team, you want good playmakers around you because that helps. But in the end, your players have got to be better than the other guys. And if you have a matchup that you don't like, then that guy's going to have a down game, but then he knows that he can work around it, and he will eventually come into his own in that game. So it's good to see these guys get ready and cement their roles, like you said, and really know what they're going to excel at the season and also what they need to work on to become a more all-around player.
Yeah, I agree with you. This is a team, just kind of looking, I feel like I know more about this team right now than I do about the women's basketball team.
True.
Sure
enough.
I think this will be because this is a team that almost finished last place in the Sun Belt last year. I think they're going to rise a little bit. I think they're going to be in that midfield fight, but I don't think they're really going to be a championship because, I mean, we saw, sure it was the first game against Abilene Christian, but, that was a 21-point loss, 73-94, I believe that final score was. And so there's a real, I think we know where this team is going to be. And
Is there a problem?
Do you all have a permit to be filming here right now?
Do we need a permit?
We're still in the studio.
Yeah, I mean, this is our building.
What do you think on this? I'm not sure.
Sorry about this, guys.
Yeah, that's weird. This is
However, they're exposed.
Well, it's like setting the mood. It's snowing. It's a little special.
It's a snow day special.
Yeah.
Is that allowed, though?
I tell you what. What if you guys, when you leave here, walk down and make sure there's nothing going on down there when you walk down and around, and then we'll be good. If there's nothing down there, then we should be good to go, right?
I think he has a point. Fair enough.
All right. Well, thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you for all your hard work that you do here.
Okay.
Yep. Wish you the best, guys.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our campus security team.
Confiscating this for evidence.
Well,
Y'all have a good day. Good call.
it's a spring sport anyway.
But I mean, that's like a weapon. I mean, their campus security. I'm pretty
I
sure.
trust them. I trust them.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you to our campus security guys out here, working hard. They don't. I mean, out here in shorts in
Yeah.
snow. Talk about dedication.
I don't really know why they're wearing like why would you, I mean, don't they have? Isn't their budget good enough to where they can actually have maybe some regular khakis?
I don't know. I'm just ready to get back to sports after
Yeah.
that interaction.
That's true. Maybe they are. Maybe they're going to play some baseball. Maybe we'll see them on the baseball field next season.
Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. But anyways, yeah.
Back to basketball.
It's hard to getting on back track on there, but yeah, I think we'll know where this A-State men's basketball.
I think so. I think they're still working through changes, getting a new coach. Getting a new coach always takes a long time. That university on the other side of the state has proven that point perfectly. How you bring in a new coach, you're going to have a down year.
Yeah.
But this is his second year, right, coming into the system. So he's really starting to get players to work in this system. He's really starting to get them to meld together. They're starting to understand what his play style is and how he wants to play the game. And so I think this is the start of the gradual climb of the Red Wolves up the rankings in the Sun Belt until they really get that hardcore identity of who they are.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Of course, we may be proven wrong, but we'll have to see. There's a lot of basketball to be played this season. I'm excited to see it. Moving on to the other men's team that's wrapping up their season, much like the volleyball team, it's football. Yeah. And this football season's been really weird, not really what we've been expecting. This is a team where a couple weeks ago, we've had discussions around the studio, around the newsroom, saying there's no way this team makes the Sun Belt Conference Championship. But there is a chance. Basically, right now it's mission to win out for the football team for Arkansas State. And they did pretty well against Coastal Carolina on the road, 44-16 in the other Conway. And that was Coastal Carolina. They're a team that looked good, and I feel so bad for them because I personally like Coastal Carolina. I like their field.
You like their field.
I like their field, and Coastal Carolina.
What is it with you and turquoise, man?
I don't know. I like the color field. I'm a fan of the gimmick.
Is it teal or turquoise?
I don't know. But anyways, yeah. So did pretty well against them on their own field.
I would say.
And so now that was the must-win game that was expected. Coastal Carolina, they may not make a bowl game because they're going to have a tough rest of the season. They're at 5 wins, so they're going to need to upset to make a bowl game, which I hope they do because they've done really well this season. But moving on back to us, we are facing ULM.
Yeah, it's our last. That's our last really serious opponent on the schedule because we play ULM and then we play Texas State.
Yeah.
Right. ULM and ourselves have the same record. We're both 6-4, and so I think this is Arkansas State's last point to prove in this season.
Well, ULM in the conference standings leads us. They are 4-3, and so, or 4-2, my bad. And so with this, if we beat ULM and Louisiana loses on the road this weekend, they will. Some people talking behind us. They will. We will win. We will lead the league, or we will lead our division. We will lead, and so we will be in position for. Right. But then,
because we'd have to own this head-to-head, and then the records would have to tie themselves, and that's basically the situation we're in.
And so then we have to beat Texas State, which if we can't do that, we don't deserve to be in the championship. Sorry, Texas State.
Sorry.
But
no
then
disrespect.
The big game to close out the season, the big final game of the season, will not be Arkansas State versus Texas State. It will be Louisiana versus Louisiana Monroe.
So you're telling me the biggest game for Arkansas State doesn't even involve Arkansas State right now?
Exactly. Oh, that's what we've had. That's what we set ourselves up to. So in this case, if we beat Louisiana Monroe, we need to be cheering so hard for Louisiana Monroe because Louisiana, they have the tiebreaker over us. And so if we end up in a situation where we're tied, Louisiana will get that bid. And so we want Louisiana Monroe to hand Louisiana that loss so they are completely behind us in terms of the win-loss in the conference.
So wait, hold on a second. Wait, if we beat Louisiana Monroe, right?
Yes.
Then we'll have tied records in conference. So then we
And
want
if
Louisiana
Louisiana
Monroe.
loses.
We want Louisiana Monroe to lose or Louisiana to lose?
We want Louisiana Monroe to win.
Okay. I wanted to follow you there because I didn't want to choose the wrong Louisiana team to root for or anything.
Yeah, if we beat ULM and we end the season tied with them, we hold that tiebreaker.
Yes.
And so we go to the championship. But if Louisiana is tied with us at the end, usually at Lafayette, if they are tied with us at the end of the season, they get in over their tiebreaker because they beat us when we went on the road.
I follow your logic better now.
Yes.
And now I know that I got to go cheer for ULM.
And it's still overall, even if we make the Sun Belt Championship game, it's going to be an uphill battle.
Who are we looking at facing? Is it Troy or App State?
App State, I believe, has fallen off. It will probably end up being Troy. It's really weird. That side of the division is crazy because App State they were ranked 24th, I believe, or 25th, and then Georgia Southern beat them, and Georgia Southern was strong, but then Troy beat Georgia Southern.
Yeah.
And so we're just kind of like, we don't know what's going to end up over there.
We can only hope to win our division and then just face whatever opponent that happens to show up at the stadium with us.
The problem is, I believe all three of those teams are better than us. And so I think, I mean, of course we have a chance to win. Of course we want to make the conference
You can
championship
always
game.
be better on that day than the team that's been better than you the whole season.
For sure. But yeah, it is disappointing that we've ended up in a situation where we couldn't really control our own destiny because we have to hope. And of course we're going to win out. If we win out, we're in a fairly good position, but we don't have it all on our hands, and you never want to do that.
So here's something to ask you, right? So sticking on football, what do you think? What point in the season do you think Arkansas State put themselves in that situation where a lot of fans gave up hope on the conference championship, or a lot of people just started jumping off?
Well, I think it was honestly the loss against Louisiana, because that was really the loss that sets back. Because App State, they dominated us here.
True.
But
Georgia Southern went on to prove that they were a pretty good team.
Yeah, and Georgia Southern beat us, which kind of shocked us.
Yeah.
But we kind of like, okay, sure, Georgia Southern, App State, fair enough. But then when we lost, because we should have won out on our side of the division.
True.
But Louisiana, we know they're tough to beat at Louisiana, and they proved it once again. It was a close game, really good game, but we fell just short. A really weird sequence of like play calls, like throwing it deep on like 3rd and 4th down when you could have just gone for the first down and continued.
You telling me you didn't trust Heisman Hansen with long distance passes?
Well, actually, he nailed one of them. I believe it was not to call him out because he's a outstanding wide receiver. He usually makes catches, but Kurt Merritt, he couldn't come down with it, and it went at the 4th down.
True.
And then it was a weird, just like almost throw to nowhere at the end of the game, essentially. That was really weird to watch. Kind of, you want that. It's kind of anticlimactic,
Yeah.
but. Yeah, I think that's the point of the season where we're like, wow, we're not even the best of our side of the division when we definitely should be. And I've seen people on Twitter, calling for Coach Anderson to fire people or be fired because he won't fire people on his staff. He won't make changes to his staff because they feel like we're not growing. And I mean, I feel like that's jumping the gun too much because I mean we have I think 2 conference championships since he's been here,
True.
And we've had bowl games, bowl wins. And so we're consistently one of the best Sun Belt teams, but it is kind of frustrating when we're used to being the best, and now we're kind of falling out to being just one of the best.
Well, and I think it's probably just an off year, to be honest. I mean, we might have struggles next year because we'll lose a couple seniors, notably Justice Hansen. Yeah. We'll lose him. But
Logan Bonner looks pretty good too.
Yeah, and so I think, sure, this isn't the senior year that a lot of fans were hoping for Justice Hansen. They were hoping for clean sweep the division. We're sitting halfway through the season already knowing that we're in the conference championship, so we just wait to see who we're going to play. But it didn't turn out that way, and so I think a lot of fans were just shocked, and I think it began with that Georgia Southern game. Dropping that Georgia Southern game shocked a lot of people. They were expecting us to win, especially since Georgia Southern, a team that looked it was a game that was very winnable for us.
Yeah. And
so from there on out, I think the fans jumping off shook the team's confidence a little bit, which could explain our rough home appearance against App State. Not taking away anything from how good a football team App State had. But I do think that now the team is gone and proven to the fans that, hey, we're still your Arkansas State Red Wolves.
Sure.
We still are really making this push to get a conference game. If they don't get in conference, they're getting to a bowl. We're bowl eligible.
We're already bowl eligible.
So, yeah, every team's going to have off years. You can't have a Nick Saban at every school. For lack of a better example, you can't have a Nick Saban at every school. And so there's going to be some slight up and down, but I think this Arkansas State team is still a very good Red Wolves team.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of like Blake Anderson is he's a fantastic guy to have represent your university. Even when you have like seasons where you're kind of out of championship contention, but he's just a great guy to be your head coach. I'm a big fan of him personally, and that's part of the reason why I probably will defend him until he actually leaves. But anyways, we about have 5 minutes left, and we have a segment where it's bring your own topic.
I've seen this topic a couple times.
And then you have hot takes. But
let's wrap them together, and we'll do a hot takes that we brought.
Okay. So, and it's kind of cold, so I could use some hot takes. Yeah, that wasn't funny.
You should be drinking your hot chocolate, man.
I'm
I've been
about.
sipping on mine
I'm
the whole
about.
show.
Yeah, I have. I'm about done, but it's also cold because it's also gotten.
I know it instantly froze my hot chocolate at this point. So lead me off with a hot take, Brad.
Okay.
What's your hot chocolate take?
Well, I'm gonna do Wesley Gwaltney proud.
Baseball?
No.
Boston?
No.
Okay. Well then I
NASCAR.
hope. Oh man. All right.
So this Sunday, it's the championship race for the NASCAR. Well, actually all series, but mainly the Monster Energy NASCAR.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. It's basically 4 drivers, the final 4 drivers of the championship. It's a really weird system. Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Martin Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, and basically whoever finishes highest at this race wins the championship. Okay. Really weird system. Like I wish it was more like F1, which is my favorite sport ever, but whatever. And so it's some cool stuff because Joey Logano is this guy who heated up towards the end of the season. Martin Truex Jr., his team, Furniture Row Racing, is closing down. Kyle Busch is just a driver everyone hates. And then Kevin Harvick is just kind of like, he hasn't won something in a while, but he's also had just a really good season. And so I'm thinking like, wow, who's going to win this championship? And this isn't really much of a hot take.
It's going to be Kyle Busch, the guy everybody hates.
Maybe. He finished second last year. He finished right behind Martin Truex Jr. And you know what? I like Kevin Harvick. I really like what he's done there, and he's also a really cool guy. I saw him give the checker flag to a kid after he won a race. But I think it's going to be Martin Truex Jr. I think it's going to be the team that's literally not going to exist next year.
Okay.
I think he's going to win back-to-back championships because, I feel like, there's so much of a chip on your shoulder. Like, you know how many people are going to be crying if, like, it's like, oh, I'm not going to be able to see you ever again, but we won the championship. That'll be a pretty surreal moment. So I think he's going to go back-to-back championships. Martin Truex Jr. is going to win it. I doubt you have anything to refute that because you don't watch NASCAR.
I don't watch a lot of NASCAR. My hot take is going to be a bit more relevant to the sport I watch.
Okay.
NFL football.
Yeah, I watch
It's
that.
not a grand hot take. It's a short hot take because we're kind of running out of time, Mr. NASCAR. So my hot take is this upcoming Chiefs-Rams game, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not being held in Mexico City. Field was terrible. They couldn't play in it. So it's being held at Rams Stadium.
Okay.
So my hot take for this is that the Rams are going to expose the Chiefs.
Really?
So the Chiefs have sold this season on their offense. They can score Tyreek Hill, Kareem Hunt, Patrick Mahomes is going off. They have Travis Kelce, which you can basically just throw the ball within 2 feet of him. He'll catch it. I think the Rams are going to expose the Chiefs for their lack of defense, that the fact that their offense can be stopped. I think, especially playing at home in L.A. with all that's happened, I think the Rams are going to prove that the Chiefs are not the great team they thought of. They just have a really overpowered offense.
So you're saying that Patrick Mahomes is going to not, like this quarterback.
2 interceptions.
Two
this game.
interceptions.
Patrick Mahomes,
That-
2 interceptions.
that
and
is
on
a-
that bombshell, I'll let you close the show.
Yeah, that is a crazy hot take right there. Patrick Mahomes, the guy who's basically been leading the NFL, and just a sensational kind of spiritual rookie. That'll be interesting to see. But yeah, like you said, we're running out of time, and so yeah, thank you for watching this special episode. This has been really cool. I've really enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me.
We cooked this up 2 seconds before we
Yeah,
sat down to do all this.
We threw it together, and so thank you very much for joining us. I've been Bradley Brewer. This has been Zach Ruppel, and we'll see you next time on Red Wolf Roundtable.
2 weeks from now, we won't have one over Thanksgiving.
True.